What's up, Doug? Alright, so, yeah, the video more or less made sense. I'm not sure how, like, a general audience, I don't know who you're trying to interpret these ideas to. To a general audience, I would imagine they'd just be like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? I'm so lost. Because they don't have a baseline understanding of, like, I guess 1, 2, 3, 4, and possibly fifth dimensional spaces. So the best way I would try to explain that is first dimension, second dimension. Okay, so let's start with second dimensional beings, if there were such a thing. They would exist on a two-dimensional plane, right? So like a circle. And in this second dimensional universe, the circle has no concept of up and down. It only has concepts, you know, forward motion, left and right, within a two-dimensional plane. Okay, and that's all relative, really. You think about it, right? It can only move in two dimensions. Go left, go right, but relative to what? I don't know what a two-dimensional universe would look like, because there is no upward motion, there is no downward motion. It's moving relative to what? What would a two-dimensional being see in a two-dimensional universe besides another flat line? Now, let's upgrade that to a three-dimensional reality, which is what we occupy. Because, sorry, would that be right? Let me think. We occupy a three-dimensional reality. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that's correct, because we cannot traverse time, as you mentioned. As you mentioned, Dr. Brand said how a fourth dimensional being could traverse time like we would a mountain or a, a ravine. They could climb it, they could go up it, they could go backwards. To them, time is nothing more than a spatial dimension that they are able to access and traverse through. So, if I'm not mistaken, yes, we are three-dimensional beings. We occupy three-dimensional space, and within that three-dimensional space, we can go forward, backwards, up, and down. We can do whatever the fuck we want, play Yeezy, and do it all. It's all good. Four-dimensional beings. That's, I think, where it gets, like, really fucking awesome, right? Because with the Tesseract, that represents a four-dimensional reality. It has the components of a three-dimensional universe, with the added ability of a spatial dimension being suppressed into a physical space they can occupy by moving forward or backwards through time. They have that ability. The fifth dimension, I'm not 100% sure on. I believe that's what they call the bulk, or the hyperspace, which is, basically physicists believe that our universe is actually occupied within a brain of sorts, a three-dimensional brain, which is also inside of a four or fifth dimensional hyperspace, which they refer to as the bulk. And that's all hypothetical. Obviously, we cannot determine whether or not the bulk actually exists, but to the best of our scientific knowledge, it is a very educated guess, a respectable educated guess. So, yeah, that's my input. Peace. I forgot one really, really cool thing about the concept of fifth or fourth dimensional beings. I believe it would be fifth dimensional beings, because you would have to be outside of the time dimension, which would be the fourth dimension, to be able to enter it and traverse through it. Now, if we, as three-dimensional beings, entered a two-dimensional universe, how would that look to a two-dimensional being? A flat circle seeing a sphere coming into its world. It'd be impossible for it to perceive, because it has no concept of what the three-dimensional reality would be. And I think a lot of people kind of miss this, but when Brand was, when the Endurance was going through the wormhole, and Brand made contact with Cooper, right? Cooper was going through that fifth dimensional reality, through the bulk, and reaching out to her. He was outside of the space dimension. But because they're three-dimensional beings, they being everyone inside the Endurance. She couldn't perceive Cooper reaching out to her as a normal hand because he was outside of that dimension. So what you see is a distortion in space-time. That's all we could perceive a fifth-dimensional being interacting within our three-dimensional universe. And the same thing would go for a two-dimensional being in a two-dimensional universe. If a sphere were to enter inside of it, it'd just be distorted space-time if there were such a thing in a two-dimensional universe. Peace.